If you're a marketing department of one or a CEO business owner that's trying to manage marketing along with everything else you're doing, then this podcast is for you. We're going to talk with Sarah at Tiny Marketing, who works with small businesses, marketing departments of one, two, or smaller, and how she's helping them create strategies that are simple and executable and work. Hello, welcome to Revolutionize Your Marketing, Your Business, Your Life. I'm Reb Risty, and I'm here today with Sarah Noel Block with Tiny Marketing. I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
Although she's doing big things for smaller companies and firms with I call it marketing department of one or two or maybe
Yeah.
zero, your owner
Yep.
CEO running your marketing.
A lot
We
of
all,
those.
yeah, we all, as entrepreneurs, we've all been through that phase. So excited to talk to you, Sarah. Really quickly for my audience, maybe give us a brief intro to who you are and what you do.
Yes. So I do work with B2Bs with 0 to 2 person marketing departments, helping them build streamlined marketing plans that are easy to execute. We do it on a quarterly basis. And then we execute for you in either like monthly intensives or quarterly intensives.
Okay, I love it. Especially, I feel, and I'm sure you experienced this, I feel like marketing strategy and plans can get really overwhelming.
I've
And,
seen those bad boys.
yeah. Remember back in the day when we used to do like the 30, 40 page plan? And I'm like,
Ew.
forget
I
it,
wrote
forget
them. I wrote them back then. What was I thinking?
it. Well, you were thinking what we all did. We were taught to do that. You have to have
Yeah.
this massive introduction and you do all this research. And not saying these things aren't good. And if you've got the budget for it, all for it. But I think you and I work with similar types of businesses that are smaller, who need some of those types of strategies, but they don't need that whole massive plan. And yeah, I definitely want to hear how you do that for your clients. Maybe tell us a little bit. One of the questions we were talking about was content. And as we're doing this podcast, you have a podcast of your own. How do you help your clients put together a content strategy that they can execute on?
So I start with customer interviews before anything else. And so they give me the contacts of their favorite customers. I interview them so I can understand like what triggers them to buy, what challenges they're going through, what experiences they really love when they're working with someone. And then I start building a strategy from there. I want to clone your favorite customers. So we're creating content that speaks directly to them. That's the very first step.
Yeah. Is that what you mean when you need to include an internal subject matter expert on your
Mm,
team to
no, what I mean
okay.
by that is when you have that 0 to 2 person marketing department, you don't have a lot of content creators in house. So you should really be taking those subject matter experts that work within your company and they know the material, they know the product, the service, whatever it is, and spotlight them. Have them be an expert quote in your blog post, have them be a co host on your podcast, interview them in videos, highlight those people internally that are geniuses and are most likely working with those customers because you need to help them like bridge the gap, build trust with them anyway, and you get to showcase how brilliant they are.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. I do think sometimes though it's a challenge when that person's maybe more technical. So for example, I worked at an avionics engineering firm and there were some engineers that, we could have probably put in front of the camera or a customer, but I would say a lot of them were pretty technical. How do you take somebody on the team who is really good at what they do and help translate that into a digestible form of content?
I work with a lot of companies similar to where like construction companies, building material companies, where they're not used to being the content creator, the one on screen. So there's a couple ways that you can pull them into the creation process. You can interview them and use their quotes in the blogs if they want completely hands off, but they can still be featured. Their name is in there. You can link to their LinkedIn. So if they're like, I don't want anything to do with this, that's the best you're going to get from them. But people who are a little bit more comfortable with the idea of being a creator, I interview them and then I cut myself out of the videos. So it's more conversational. They feel more comfortable because it's a one-on-one experience. And then I just edit myself out and create the videos from there.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, had that experience where people just are so shy. But I like the interview style. We use that too, and I think it warms people up and makes them more comfortable.
Yeah.
Most people can answer a question.
Yeah, it's like a friendly environment. You are talking to someone you know, someone you're comfortable with, and it's not that awkwardness of like staring at a camera, that like blinking cursor thing that gets you where you just freeze up and you don't know what to talk about. It doesn't happen when you're talking to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, so speaking of video and content, what do you find is most effective for a smaller business that they can actually execute on? Is it creating blogs or writing articles or filming video?
So when I'm working with them, I told you before, my first thing to do is those customer interviews. So
Okay.
that's when I start to understand what channels and what mediums make sense for their content. So I'll build out their what I call a strategic story, where it's that customer avatar, the messaging strategy, which needs to come first before any content strategy, then content strategy, and then the marketing action plan. And from there, I'll know what kind of content makes sense for them. It really depends on the customer. Now, the easiest thing to create is video because you can repurpose it all over the place. Honestly, if you use a tool like Content at Scale, you can take that video, the link to it on YouTube, put it in there, and it'll create an article for you using AI. And then you can use that video and use Opus AI and turn it into shorts and clips for Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts.
I
And
love it.
that makes it a lot easier because there's so much you can do with it.
I love it. Yeah, we're finding the AI tools are coming to be such a bigger player in how we operate. And definitely in next year, we're looking at investing, maybe not, but the tools themselves aren't that expensive, but investing and really taking the time to figure those out and learn. And, even Riverside FM that we're on right now has
Yes.
some, yeah, video
They have like
editing
an
tools.
Opus type thing.
Yes, yes. So it's interesting. I actually did a short clip on using it, and some of it's right on, and some of it is not. And I think that is where
That's
you just,
AI for you.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But that's a whole nother discussion, right? um, so I like that you talk to clients. I think that's something that especially smaller businesses don't do because of time constraints or they don't think about it. And so to have somebody like you can come on, be strategic and do that for them. What else? Like you've said that you also need to include your stakeholders at the very beginning
Mm,
of
yeah.
the marketing strategy process. Who are those stakeholders?
So I like to have the head of each department in that initial strategy call. So we talked about the strategic spark earlier before we hit record, but that's the meeting that I have where I bring them all in and I interview them because they are touch points with customers at every stage of the funnel. Like each person is interacting with them in a different way, and they all have really important insights that we never gather because we never pull them all together to talk about how are we talking about the company, what kind of marketing is going to work, until we have that conversation, bring them in, and I can find that golden thread that's weaved between them all so we can figure out what really makes sense for a streamlined strategy.
Yeah, it is really important, and it's been interesting. Especially, I find we had a client that had 7 partners, and of course, they met regularly and talked to each other, but they never really talked in the marketing
Yeah.
voice. And to pull them together, it was interesting. They didn't realize how differently they spoke about the company and their services, and so bringing that all
Yes.
together, yeah, was so much value for them. And yeah, I really appreciate that again, because I think smaller companies miss that. Or, because a lot of times the CEO is just driving everything. And it's important to bring, even if you only have 1 or 2 people on the team, everyone should be
Yeah.
involved.
It's really every company I have interacted with at all, they're siloed. They're not talking to each other when it comes to how do we talk about our company. They just do. They
Yeah.
instinctively talk about the company however they feel like they should, and there's no strategy behind it, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you said messaging is key, and it's one of the very first things that you have to get dialed in and figure
Yeah.
out. So,
If you
yeah.
don't have that nailed, then everything else isn't going to make sense because it's tied to absolutely everything.
Yes, thank you. You were speaking my language. We we focus on the branding messaging strategy for our clients. I'm Story Brand certified, so
I love
yeah.
story brand.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, me too. Me too. So awesome. Well, one last question for you. I know you probably put a lot of strategies and different things together, but you had mentioned leveraging virtual events to grow your list and
Yes.
sell one-to-one offers. I think I love this idea because I think this is such an attainable thing for a small business. Tell us about that and why small businesses should be looking at doing something.
I love them so much, I can't even explain. It's the only strategy that I know that can bring someone from just discovering you exist to, "I trust you, here's my money, take it." It's the only way. So I have done webinars before with partnerships at the very beginning of my career. Like when I'm building an audience, partnership webinars are a great way to get in front of that mirror audience that you want to sell to and start building your audience. Love that. And now I'm doing more virtual workshops where I
Ooh,
have an audience, but I'm also pulling people in through Eventbrite and Meetup and partnerships, doing like list swaps. So I'm focusing really hard on filling those events, getting the right people in there, teaching them something super valuable where at the end they actually have something that they can walk away with that they can use and then tie it to whatever offer that I am focusing on in that moment, whatever is tied to that workshop. But it's such a good way to earn the trust and show the value that you can provide to potential customers. And it's a great excuse to connect and build relationships with your ideal customers.
yeah. No, that's great. And I think doing it virtually, it's cost effective, of course. And, most of us know how to get online and do a webinar or something similar. I actually did a LinkedIn Live a few months ago. Exactly what you're saying. I partnered with somebody who's a sales expert and we cross pollinated our, lists. And it was such a great result. Like I did
That's
not expect it
awesome.
to go so well. Yeah.
It's amazing. I have done like just one partnership webinar brought in 300 new leads and they were
Wow.
really good fit leads. It's very effective.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And when you say new leads, do you mean they actually signed up for your newsletter or went on to downloaded a
Yeah.
lead magnet?
They yeah, they converted to become my audience, those 300 people, and a really good portion of them ended up reaching out for discovery calls, fit calls, and moved forward.
That's great. I love it. So it does work, people.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah. If I'm a small business owner, I'm busy, I'm like, I don't have time for that. How do you help them? Do you actually organize and create the webinar for them? Maybe help them understand a little bit how you
I
operate.
love it. I love them so much, and I know it stresses out a lot of people. creating those events because, well, I was in-house and I was super stressed. I'm like, I don't have time to do that when I'm doing a million other things, but I love creating them. So I work with small businesses I'll strategize what that workshop or virtual event should be, develop the slides, fill the seats, get people in there, create the pre-event email sequence, the post-event sequence to sell your offer, and the whole technical setup. Figure out what tools need to be connected and what tools you should be using to
Yeah.
display. What's the word? Deliver your event.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing what you're doing and helping small businesses. You do have an offer for my audience. What is it?
Yes. So I am giving away 50% off of my Strategic Spark, which is only $4.97 at full price, but it's a 60 to, yeah, so it's a deal and a half. It's a 60 to 90-minute interview with your stakeholders,
Oh,
where in the end, you get a strategy and a marketing roadmap that you can either take and implement yourself, or you can have my team implement it for you.
God, love it. Yeah, that's so reasonably priced. I love it. All right. Well, everybody, please take Sarah up on her offer. I think that it's totally worth it, especially as we're ending the year and going into the new year. Oh my gosh, there's so much to do. And to have a professional like Sarah come on your team and help you guys clear out some of the cobwebs out of the brain for marketing, at least.
That is a good way to think about it. It is complete cobwebs.
Yeah, trust me, I've got them. uh, so we'll put your contact info and your offer in our show notes. And for my audience, revolutionize. I am so excited for 2024. I think a lot of good things are going to be happening. And as Sarah mentioned, messaging is so key. Now is the time to start working on your messaging. Go into the new year with a spot on message. We use the Story Brand 7-part framework. We can help you guys with that and reach out to us. And yeah, just revolutionize your marketing.